And here we are at the Future Agent Podcast. Today's topic is one that I could not be more excited about. Turns out I'm excited about most of these. But we're talking all things building a team. So today's topics, we're going to cover building a scalable team structure, developing a consistent lead generation system, create a high-performance culture, which I think we do really well at, provide ongoing training and development, and last but not least, scale strategically while maintaining quality. Let's get into it. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Future Agent Podcast. Thank you guys for being here. This is episode, what, 2 of this year?
Yeah. I think number 8, 9 that we've done.
We're rolling.
We're cranking. Better than 90% of podcasts that fail after the first 4 episodes.
We're in the top 10% now.
Hey, look at us.
Let's go. Hey, if you're new here, my name's Tony Acosta. I'm a broker. I've been in the industry since 2012, and we are now here at the Perry Group. I've owned a brokerage. I've been a broker myself. I've been solo. I've been on the team. I've basically done it all. And now here we are at the number 1 real team on planet Earth.
Have you ever done it at this level, though?
No, never. What we're going to talk about today, guys, by the way, is everything that I didn't know before I got here of how you actually play this game. So
my name is Boo Maddox. I've only played the game at this level, so this is a lot of fun now being in charge and saying, hey, this is how you actually do it. So we're learning a ton. Like I said, my name is Boo Maddox. Been in production for the last 8 years. Have been in real estate for 11. This is my first year, I guess, year 2 of leading a team. We started with 4 agents last year, sitting on a floor here in December. Today we're at 55 with 8 more agents already set to onboard here in the first week of February. So this is a topic I'm extremely passionate about.
And I think this is a topic that you can speak to incredibly well. Like I said, I've been a member of small teams, large teams, medium teams, but the way these guys do it is different, and I'm so excited to break that down today.
Yeah, and everything that we're going to do is going to be literally the playbook of how we scaled to 1,000 transactions in 2024. First team in Utah real estate history to be a team that closes over 1,000 transactions. Actually beat that goal by about 11%, ending up somewhere between 11 and 1,200 transactions. The goals for this year are big, but the fun part is when you already have the systems into place, you just have to expand those systems a little bit, and you can add in 500 additional transactions. So,
and I know we're going to get into this, but as kind of a preface, what I learned more than anything else is how to make this business predictable. Because if there's one thing that agents struggle with is with that consistent flow of deals, closings, and income. So the principles that you're going to learn today, it's not just, oh, well, I don't have 1,000 closing goal, or, oh, I don't have a team that's 150 agents. It doesn't matter. These same principles can be applied to you at a micro level to get you from 5 to 30, from 30 to 50. This is about growth more than anything else. So let's jump right into it.
Well, one last point to add to that. I think the term team gets thrown around a ton in real estate because there are very varying degrees of teams within real estate. When we are talking about a team, we are not talking about a partnership of 2 agents that have too many buyer leads and they're not quite sure what to do, so they bring on a showing assistant. That is a team, yes, but that is not what we are talking about. What we are talking about today is running your team like a business. What do you need to have in place in order to run this like a business, not just to help you do a little bit more transactions?
Sure.
So, Tingy, point number 1. Build a scalable team structure. Focus on hiring transaction coordinators, marketing specialists, and showing agents to handle operational tasks. A well-structured team allows agents to focus on income-generating activities like prospecting and closing. Define clear roles and responsibilities. Avoid role overlap by assigning specific tasks to each team member. Establish accountability and performance metrics for every position. So I would love to hear your opinion on this because you've done this, you've been there, you have tried this at a smaller scale. Where do you think the Perry Group is a little bit different in this, and what do you think the majority of people, when they say, hey, let's start a team, are not accounting for when it comes to building a scalable operation?
I think it comes down to running your business like a business. Most agents are going to try to maximize dollars in the short term. We just had a conversation with an agent just a couple minutes ago that his split is significantly lower than it would be here, but he's all by himself. And so I think that what the Perry Group does well is we understand that in order to do more, you're going to need more people.
Yeah.
You're going to need more support. You're going to need more help. And it's very difficult for a lot of realtors to understand that. I often say, and it's to no fault of our own, the real estate education system is broken, which makes us really bad business people. And the agents that do well are the agents that understand the business aspect. There are margins, there are people that need to get paid out, there's support that needs to get paid. And so you've got two options. You can either try to go build that on your own, that it gets very expensive because you're having to pay for the transaction coordinators, the photographer, the person to go do your listing signs, the graphic design person, whatever it is, it gets expensive in time or in dollars. The value that I found where I think the Perry Group excels is in building this business in a box.
Yeah, I look at the person who I think gives me the most time back to my life at our company. Her name's Emily Martin. She is our director of operations. We affectionately refer to her as our COO here in this office, the chief officer of operations, because she is that damn good at what she does. I look at the amount of time and energy and focus that it takes in order to onboard 8 agents in a month, which that's a little bit bigger month than what we're used to. Normally we're somewhere between 4 to 6. If I was having to not only find these people, recruit them, interview them, and then onboard them, the amount of time that would take would not allow me to do a lot of other stuff that I am doing every day. So when we talk about making this a scalable business, that's what we're referring to. Make sure that you have the people in place early on. And I think where so many teams go wrong is they wait until it's too late to hire those people. They wait until it's too late to hire a marketing coordinator. They wait too long until it's time to hire this person. And it's not until a certain amount of people have left due to the operations suck that they think, hey, maybe we should onboard somebody into this position. So it is going to be a stretch. It is going to take some of your resources, some of your dollars out of the account early on. But having those people in place that are scalable people that now you can go in and say, hey, I can onboard 8 agents in a month because we have this one person in her role, makes this job infinitely easier.
And it's nice to know that you have that in place to where if somebody asks a question or says, hey, can I learn more about your brokerage? Yeah, we've got Zach, we've got Emily, and you know that they're going to do a really good job. And I get it, agents. I mean, it's difficult to feel like you're leaving dollars on the table. I get it. I felt it. You and I have had conversations. It's a difficult place to be when you all of a sudden look around and you say, okay, there are other people that are making more money than me, yet maybe they're not as skilled as I am or whatever the case may be. It's really hard to not feel some type of way about that.
Yeah, and it's just something that you have to get used to, that in this business, it requires you to spend money in order to make money. And once again, if you don't have the people or the systems in place to be tracking, hey, I spent $1 here, but it generated me 4, that's a 75% ROI, I'm okay with that. You're not going to be able to get very far in this business because you're not building something that is scalable. So now you take the Perry Group, who had one office, and all of a sudden in 1 year we were able to pop up 3 more offices. Why were we able to do that? Because we had all of the systems, and all we had to do was copy and paste one additional time, hire appropriate staff and resources in order to offset the added agents and transactions that we brought into the office, and boom, you have an office that's on pace to sell 500 transactions in year 2 that was profitable in Q1 of 2024. Started from 4 agents and was profitable within 90 days. How do you do that? It's by knowing exactly what your costs are, where you need to spend money, what you don't need to spend money on, and making sure that you have the staff and the people in place, so then all you have to do is plug the agents in. I think so many teams get this bass backwards because in their minds they're going to add the agents and then they'll scale the business. And I don't think that will ever work from a retention standpoint.
It doesn't, because the growing pains become too intense. It becomes problematic to where nobody wants to feel like they're a part of something that's chaotic or something that's not formal or something that where we're just winging it and we're just trying to figure it out. Where I think the Perry Group has excelled is if you're going to hire somebody, it should be because you trust them to do what you're hiring them to do. Hence, you shouldn't have to babysit them. You shouldn't have to micromanage. Of course, you're going to have SOPs and certain standards and meetings. Of course, basic stuff. But to TPG's credit, they have let you do basically what you've wanted to do. And
we're going to test that here in the next little while.
And I think, yes, but I think that's why it works, because you understand that with different demographics, as you scale, things are going to change, and people have different skill sets, and people see things in a different way that might be a correct answer. And I've actually been surprised at how little they try to force their team leads to do things in a certain way. When you give freedom to test, to try things, there is accountability there, but they allow you to try things. I think that is a massively underrated point, to where If you just want to micromanage everything and everything be done the way I want it to be done, it doesn't work. I talked about this in our listing training today. Those are difficult trainings to build because it can very easily become the do listings like Tony show. And that's not how it should be. So to the TPG's credit, as they scale, if you're going to hire somebody, trust them, let them do their thing, and in a sense, kind of get out of their way.
Amen and amen. Tingy, point number 2. Develop a consistent lead generation system. Diversify your lead sources. Rely on a mix of online leads, referral networks, and organic strategies like SEO and community involvement. Build a lead pipeline that provides consistent opportunities for your agents. Leverage technology and automation. Use CRMs and AI-driven tools to nurture leads, track follow-ups, and convert prospects faster. Automate repetitive tasks like email campaigns to free up your team's time for client interactions. What do you think the Perry Group does differently here than anywhere else?
I think the Perry Group really understands everything that an agent needs. Everything that an agent needs. Every interaction, every process, every system, from when a buyer comes through the door, a seller comes through the door, when you're prepping properties, that is completely mapped out. What lead gen should look like, what works, what doesn't work, what to invest in, what not to invest in. And that understanding, at least for me, and I know for new agents, gives them the security of, okay, I'm plugging into something that is proven. Even though there is a little bit of testing involved, but I'm plugging into something that is already proven. And that is difficult to find. There are way too many people that honestly just wing it on a daily basis. And by the time they figure it out, they're either burnt out or they're in the wrong place. And so that for me has been huge. That's one of the things that I most appreciated. Even being 11 years in, there's always that sense of security of, hey, these people got it figured out.
Well, talk to me too, because I would love your insight into this, because like I said, I haven't known too many worlds. You're a lot more well-seasoned and traveled than I am on this. Our Zillow program. Talk to me about our Zillow program, because you see his eyes get just a little big. For those of you at home that are keeping score, we spend more on Zillow nationally than any individual agent, any team, and any brokerage in the entire world. The only way that works is if we have it down to a science. That is the only way that lead generation opportunity works. And it works so well that our agents out here are getting anywhere from 8 to 10 phone calls every single month. And the conversation isn't, hey, you got to fight to get one more. It's, hey, you need to pace yourself and take an appropriate amount of these or you're going to flood yourself. Talk to me about what your opinion is on the Zillow program and just maybe provide some context to how robust this system really is.
Yeah, 2 things I'll say there. Most teams say that they invest in their agents. Maybe they'll throw an event here or there. They'll bring a speaker. They'll pay the speaker. They'll do whatever it is. Very few teams pay money and invest any amount of money to directly get agents' phones to ring. It's different. It's not the same thing. And coming from broker land, very few brokers do that. It's different trying to invest in training than I'm going to pay money so that your phone rings. And the level that I see the Perry Group do that at is unmatched. So that is point number 1. And that, again, gives agents a sense of security where the team understands the value. And they understand that in order to have success, there needs to be an investment there.
There has to be.
Which leads me to the next point. It's very easy to brush off 1,100 transactions and say, oh, of course.
You can put an asterisk by it all you want to.
Because they're on Zillow. Or of course, well, they just buy all these deals. They buy all of these leads. Be careful with brushing it off. Because if you have that mindset of, oh, of course, because they just have a ton of money, and anybody that had that amount of money would get it, it's absolutely not true. And I remember a couple of months ago, Drew had a training here in this boardroom right here. And he broke down the numbers, and he broke down how much it costs and how it's calculated.
And how specific we have to be on our conversion rate in order for this to pencil.
Where the splits come from. And in that moment, that's where it hit me of, that was my moment. Everybody has a moment where you say to yourself, oh, that's how it works. Oh, that's how they do it. And so again, be careful with brushing off something like that just by simply saying, oh, if I had that amount of money, I could do it too. No, my friend, this is down to a science, and that's what I appreciate the most, because you can tell that leadership has put in the time, effort, and resources, putting their money where their mouth is, to learn what it takes to sell a lot of real estate.
Well, yeah, and everybody sees the amount of leads that we're purchasing every month. What they don't see is the email that we get once a month from Zillow that says, congratulations, you were in the top 100% of Zillow, meaning that we are out converting, out closing, out producing every other person in the entire United States that is buying leads. How do you do that? It's by getting ultra specific and providing people real leads. We interviewed 2 agents this afternoon before we jumped on this podcast. Both of them made a comment to us that their current brokerage was providing leads. And I'm putting it in air quotes because I think there's a lot of brokers out there. Like I said, I'm new to this. There's a lot of brokers out there that don't seem to know the damn difference between a lead and a call list. And most of them are providing call lists, not leads. They're providing a list full of people that opted into something that they had no idea that they opted into something. And what you get is a cold call lead that is on a list that has their phone number and maybe an email address that's 50-50 trash. Yeah. That's not providing a lead. So if you want to stand out, if you're thinking, hey, I want to go and start my own team, invest in leads for your team. It's going to sting. It's going to hurt. That's the thing, is that the check that we wrote this month, statistically speaking, we are not going to get paid for any leads that we buy this month until April, until May. And most people don't have that context. So what do? They provide a list full of leads that cost them 5 cents to procure. That's not a lead. That is a list. And if you can provide a real lead and wait the 90 to 120 days that it's going to take for that lead statistically on average to go under contract, that's a lead, and you will stand out entirely in your marketplace.
And it forces the question of, do you actually believe in what you're talking about? In the sense of, put your money where your mouth is. If anybody doesn't want to be a part of the Perry Group, hey, that's fine, my guy. No worries at all. If it's not a fit, it's not a fit. But nobody can say that this team doesn't reinvest in their agents. And it's one thing to say, everybody says that they're the number one. Boo. Everybody has on their Instagram profile, number one agent.
I paid for it.
It's very, it's very rare. It's very rare to be in a situation where the organization is number one in the world. Number one in the world, and there's data to support it. I think that has been one of the biggest eye-opening things for me over the last 12 months of what it takes to play at that high of a level.
We're going to get into this a little bit more on point number 3 from Mr. Dr. Tingy. Create a high-performance culture. Foster accountability. Set clear, measurable goals for each agent, such as weekly calls, appointments, and closing. Use regular one-on-ones, which I don't do, but that's fine, and team meetings. We do that a lot to track progress and provide support, incentivize success. Offer competitive commission splits, which we do, bonuses or rewards for top performers, and celebrate team wins to maintain morale and encourage collaboration. Now, to provide some context before we we kick this over to Tony, the average real estate agent in Utah did just over 2 transactions. On our team, it's 8.5 transactions. So what does that mean? That means that and I gave this point in team meeting up in Sugar House last week, just because you feel like you're behind everybody in here doesn't mean that you're behind the rest of the world. Doesn't mean that you are not absolutely crushing this. Doesn't mean that you are not really, really good at this. Just because you're surrounded by hitters and killers that are damn good at what they do does not mean that you're not still succeeding. And I think that there can be some drawbacks for a lot of agents. I think that we have lost agents on this team that were looking around and be like, dude, I'm going to just go do my 3 or 4 in a year and be awarded as a top producer somewhere else, not somebody that's on the shit list because they're not hitting what the company average is per agent. But you talk about this all the time, and I'm sure we're going to get a sports analogy here in just a second.
You're going to get an absolute sports analogy. I said this when I first joined, that it was playing for Real Madrid. And I think that that's exactly what you mentioned. The worst player on Real Madrid is one of the best players in the world. But again, it's that recognition of understanding where you're playing and what jersey that you're wearing. And it doesn't come from an ego perspective or an arrogance perspective. It just is what it is. And that brings a different level of accountability, a different level of skill set that needs to be developed. And not everybody loves that. Not everybody's going to dig it. So I think that there are 2 specific elements to this. I think it's number 1, fostering an environment where you're teaching agents what they actually need to do. There's actual thought. There's actual data. There's substance to what is being taught.
There's test cases. There's examples. There's real feedback, exactly. Real tangible something.
There's real tangible something. People are in the office. They're happy to be in the office. They find purpose in being in the office, number 1. And then number 2, which I think is the more important point. Once you can get the agents to produce, once you get them to produce, do you incentivize that production? And that doesn't happen everywhere. So with our commission tiers, that's what it is. The more you produce, the less expensive it gets. But one of the reasons why I have been baffled by the format is because if there's a brokerage that charges 70-30 across the board, and they get their top producers that do 20 or 30 deals, and they still charge them 70-30, they're gonna make a ton of money. Here, when an agent gets to 25 or 30, they're not paying a 70-30. They're paying a what?
90-10.
A 90-10.
Yeah.
So many brokers would take a step back and say, I would never do that.
You're leaving money on the
Because I'm
table.
losing so much money. And that's that short-sighted perspective that I think doesn't allow a lot of teams to grow.
And I think past that, well, the other thing that we do that is very different, I'm learning, is very different from all these other brokerages in the world. The fact that our team-generated splits, our team-generated commission is a different tier than your SOI commission is baffling to everybody that I meet with. I'm like, you're on a team now. Yeah, okay, and what is your commission? 50-50. Okay, what if you generate the deal? Still 50-50. What? No, please, God, no, please.
Call the police.
Tell me that this is a lie because I had zero cost to acquire that lead. So that means that my investment into that deal was whatever my training was whatever my cost to have you sitting at a desk for a month was. And so to me, it's baffling to me that more teams are not set up in this way, that we incentivize agents to go and grow their own business. There are tons of teams out there that the feedback has gotten back to me, believe you me, that we are not profitable because of this model. I am telling you, I have seen the numbers. I have looked at the numbers. I have deep dived on the numbers. You're wrong. You're just taking advantage of your agents. I'm not losing money. And there's a very big difference.
There's a huge difference. And that's where these brokers have to make a decision. Everybody claims to be agent-centric. Everybody claims to love their agents, and they have great recruiting pitches. Do you put your money where your mouth is? The Perry Group absolutely puts their money where their mouth is. Even sometimes I feel to a fault, more than they, I don't want to say should, but more than they could. The Perry Group could make way more money with a couple of tweaks, and they don't. And that speaks to the integrity of the leadership and really putting the agents first and making a bet. And the bet is, if we do what is best for the agent, they will stay. That's the bet that is being made, and I see that bet pay off time and time again, and I continue to find it extraordinary.
Yeah, and when you do foster an environment of competitive agents, you're going to lose agents to that. But you have to think, the agents that I'm losing to that to, or I'm losing to that mantra of competition, am I okay with losing that agent? In my opinion, yes, because like I said, if I interview 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 people every single week, I'm not looking for the 6 or 7 or 8. I'm looking for the one that I think is going to, number one, come in and produce quickly, and then number 2, produce for a long time.
No doubt.
So, Tingy, number 4. Provide ongoing training and development. Invest in skill building. Regularly train your team on negotiation tactics, market trends, and new technology. Bring in guest speakers or send agents to industry events to expand their knowledge. Focus on personal growth. Encourage agents to set personal and professional goals and support them with mentorship programs. Promote a growth mindset. How do you think we do with that?
Very well, because it goes back to the exact same point. At first, you have to skill stack. You have to skill stack. That is my phrase. If I ever trademark a phrase, it's going to be skill stack. You have to skill stack, whether that's negotiation, communication, organization, all of it. You have to stack skills at first. Once you have those skills, very few agents are incentivized to share them for a couple of reasons. Number one, financially, they're just not incentivized. And number 2, and I've been told this with the courses that I give, why would you train your competition? Even within team. Because if there's one buyer in this room, they're either going to use you or they're going to use me. They're not going to use both. So why would I show you what I do when, if not so in here, but out there, we're still competitors? A lot of people view it that way. And so again, the Perry Group creates things like their new agent coaching program, to where again, they take less money. They're willing to divvy up the pie a little bit more so that the agents that have stacked those skills have some sort of an incentive to pass that on to the new agents, and trying to create this virtuous cycle, as difficult as it may be, of veteran agents, competent agents. How do I get the information out of them, out of the operators, not based on theory of someone that retired 20 years ago? How do I extract that and give it to the new agents so that that skill stacking process can be faster and it can be more effective.
So true or false, in order to stay relevant on this and create trainings that are actually relevant, is it more difficult to do if you are not in production, or is it easier to do if you are in production?
I think you need to be in production to some degree.
And this is where I think that we talked about this again in our interviews today. Every single person that's in leadership at the Perry Group, whether it's our new agent coaches who are 3 to 6 of our top producing agents on the team across the board in all of our offices, down to the leadership, the team leads, the person whose name is on the door is a top 500 agent year in and year out. And so when we stand up and we say, hey, the next quarter, Q1 2025, we are going to go and attack listings. The information and the trainings that we are providing are very tactile. They're not theoretical. They are saying, hey, this is what's going to happen in 45 days when you're sitting across from a seller in their living room. Not because this is my opinion, not because this is what it was like 15 years ago when I was sitting on their couch in 2006, but because this is what you need in order to be successful based on my relevant information from the listing appointment I took last week.
Yeah, and I talk about the value of our Slack channel. I think our Slack channel is the most valuable resource in all of real estate. I think that thing is worth millions of dollars because, again, like you say, you have all of these leaders that are producing to where they can share exactly what happened in their listing presentation yesterday for 1.6 for 1.7. So if you're a newer agent, you see that, and all of a sudden you see the bot under contract, under contract, under contract, under contract. It eliminates the excuse. You cannot say, oh, the market's bad, or oh, nobody's buying, or oh, rates are too high, oh, this sucks. You can't do that when the Slack channel is 10 times a day, saying
130 times, 140 times a month.
It's insane. And so for me, at a personal level, it has eliminated any and all excuses that I could ever come up with. They don't exist. They absolutely do not exist because of that very thing.
Well, I think you're the perfect example for this. Today, you led CMA Training 101 as a segue into our quarter-long approach to getting more listings. That was today. 24 hours before that, you're sitting in a listing appointment for a $1.7 million house that we got.
And we did get it.
That we got signed.
We got it signed. And the property that we were breaking down today was one of my listings that is overpriced. So that ego isn't there. And the last thing that I'll say on this point is about the leadership being top producers. I think that is an underrated point because who is the number one producer on our team? It's Michael Perry, the dude whose name is on the door. If you know anything about the real model, if you know anything about how this dude's business operates, he doesn't need to produce, my guy.
He does not need to produce.
Dude's chilling.
Yeah.
The amount of money that he makes off of restaurant, I'm not trying to talk about anybody's pockets, but it's just a reality. He doesn't need to produce, but he does. And why does he do it? Because there's this concept of leading from the front, of leading by example, of being the dude that says, hey, I'm still here in the trenches with you guys, not on my high horse with a ton of rev share to where it's all about recruiting. And again, I find that extraordinary.
And it doesn't exist at a lot of other places.
It doesn't
and so
at
when
all.
they go into a training, they're like, well, back in my day, this is how we used to do it. Well, back in your day doesn't work today.
Today, it doesn't.
Point number 5, Tingy. Scale strategically while maintaining quality. Monitor metrics closely. Track key performance indicators like lead conversion rates, average transaction value, and client satisfaction. Use data to identify areas for improvement and ensure quality doesn't drop as you scale. Expand your market intelligently. Grow into new areas only when your existing operations are running efficiently. Identify high growth markets or underserved niches for expansion opportunities. I will talk about the last portion of that, but I want to hear your approach to how we approach metrics and numbers and understanding where the agent's business is at that moment based on TPG stats that was coded by our very own John Perry.
It's more robust than anything that I've ever seen. It just is. And that was one of the big things that led me to sell my brokerage to come to this agency. Because you guys understand it at the most minute level possible, where it's numbers tell a story. And the fact that we don't run away from that, again, is extraordinary. We have these screens out here all day long. They're flashing numbers, charts, graphs. Everybody's up there, naked. Everybody's numbers, everybody's conversion rates, leadership included. And that's very intimidating for a lot of people. They don't want people to know because maybe they flash a certain style on social media and they don't want people to know that they maybe don't actually produce that much. But that emphasis on numbers to where that's what tells the story, I absolutely love. And also the recognition that if numbers are low, it's not because you suck. It's simply because there's something missing.
It's because you need a tweak.
There's something
And
missing.
if I can't look at your business and say, hey, you excel here, here, and here, but there's a gap from here to here, I don't know what to train on. So I train you on everything. 90% of it you don't need. 10% the relevant information that you need, you're not getting because it's getting lost in translation while I go over the other 90 that is irrelevant to you.
And why do agents struggle to scale? Because that's a business element. That is a business principle. But if you have a job, you don't have to worry about that. If you work at Target, you don't care about Target's call. Like you never even have that conversation. It's not a part of your life. So agents, if you want to build an actual business, that's the level of understanding that you need to have about where your deal flow comes from, what works, what doesn't work, where you invest your dollars and where you don't, so that you can actually build something substantial.
And as far as picking new areas, for us, it has always been, do we have the person to go and do it? And will the market be receptive? I think Utah County is a perfect example. We were a Salt Lake County team. We said, let's go 45 minutes south into Utah County. They found the person. So that's
Boom Addicts.
Boom Addicts.
Solid choice.
They trusted in an unproven individual that they thought had the stuff. But it has been interesting to see the market receptiveness to what we are offering. We have added 50 agents over the last 365 days. How do you do that? It's by identifying an area that needs your services, finding the person, pushing copy and paste on your systems, and then let the person run. And it has been incredible to watch what has transpired since then.
Because we just had that conversation here with the last interview that we had. It's an agent that did 12 in 2024.
Yeah.
Wants to double. It's like, my guy, if you want to double, you're going to need double of everything. And so if you're an agent that does 5 right now and you want to double or triple, there's a lot that you don't know. There's a lot that you need. Just because you can handle 5 right now doesn't mean you're in a position to handle 15.
So that's the breakdown on everything that we think. If you're thinking, hey, I want to start a team and I want it to be something special, make sure that you have all 5 of these things in place before you start opening your doors and saying, hey, agents, come and pick me. This is why I'm the best. Don't provide a list, provide real leads, provide scalable resources that can expand with you as you continue to grow, and watch what happens. My personal opinion is that the team model is the model for the future of real estate agents in our industry. I have made more on a team than 99.9% of solo agents ever have or ever will, and my opinion is that it's because I plugged into a team that allowed me to be exceptional at what I was good at and helped me pick up the rest and elevate my game. So if you don't feel like that team exists in your marketplace, hit the DMs. I will help you start it. I will give you the blueprint. I will tell you exactly what we're doing. I will show you the dollars. I will show you how to set it up. And if it doesn't, or if you're in our marketplace and you're thinking, hey, I think I can go over there and do really, really well. To me, that agent that we interviewed today that did 12, I have the roadmap. I can show you how to go and get to 24 next year. I can show you how to get to 36 the year after, and I can show you and continue to show you how to scale this business because we have been there and we have done that and we are leading from the front. So that's it on today's episode of the Future Agent Podcast.